All right. It is time. Is it 7 o'clock or 7:01?
7.
It is 7 on the nose. So we'll start this meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, I would like to welcome you all. This is the last, with the exception of our zoning board having a meeting tomorrow night, this is the last town meeting of the year. And what we have several things to look at and decide. And then we'll be on to the new year. I guess the big news is this winter solstice is the 21st. Is that correct?
Amen. Yeah.
Okay. So, Sarah, do we have any public comments? Mr. Buchner, do we have any type of attorney's report?
I don't think they're hearing.
I'm there. Sorry,
Anything you need to say to us?
I do not have a report, sir.
Okay.
It's not on, I don't think.
There you are.
Okay, I think now we got it. Okay, so we're going to move right on along for council action, which is approve the minutes of the November 18 regular meeting. And I read through them a couple times. I even made some notes because some of that stuff's going to come up again.
I don't understand how I get to the second thing.
Oh, I forgot to announce who's here tonight.
How I get to the second thing.
Same way you did today.
Okay,
Florida, Andrea, and Jesse.
all right.
Very soon.
Okay, on Zoom we have Jara, and at the tables this evening we have our town clerk Sarah, Ramon Reed, myself, Tom Gibb, and Ed Pianalto. So we will move to the minutes of November 18th.
I'll be right here. We have our door open and your door open. So in here.
I'm trying to talk. But it keeps saying the host muted me. I have some additions.
Sorry, Jara. We were just hearing a lot of background noise from where you were. I didn't realize you were trying to speak. My apologies.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
My audio is blinking in and out, so I'm not sure, but I thought you asked for additions or corrections to the minutes. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Are you ready for me to?
If you have some things that you wish to review on the minutes, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I just had one. I thought the minutes were good, except on number 11.3, way down at the bottom, right before my motion, in the minutes it said what I said, and I don't know if I misspoke or if I think maybe Sarah didn't hear me, or else it's a typo. I said something about the 20 to 30 people who were standing in line to be street commissioner, wanting to be street commissioner, not 230 people. That was all I saw. Thank you.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, we can fix that.
The only correction I have is actually in the reports. I mean, extremely minor. But under the zoning board, no meeting in October, no meeting in.
Ah, good. Ramon, you have anything?
Yes, I have one. On page 3, the third paragraph from the bottom, at the end of that paragraph is an incomplete sentence. Says in the past year, there have been 2 or more cases where some discussion by the board, and I think may not have the exact same wording I used then, but it just, after some discussion by the board, should say might have changed the project.
Got it, thank you.
That's all I have.
Okay. All right then, if we think we have our minutes for November 18 cleaned up and suitable, I would entertain a motion.
You have, I thought you said you had some comments on.
No, I said I'm going to keep this out because there's some things in here that are going to come around again that I should bring up. Way late.
That's
No changes. No changes.
this day, and I'll make the motion that we accept the November 18th minutes as amended.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, thank you, Jared. We are unanimous. Okay, review treasurer's report, item 42. Discuss, man, this is the part I like. Discuss and vote to approve December 2024 disbursements. Well, okay, that's normal stuff. But then discuss and vote on moving 45,000 to CSAFE. When is the last time we moved money to CSAFE? Didn't we do that like a couple months ago?
I think it was October.
So we're going to try and get the best interest we can on the money we've got. Yeah. Okay. So, December 2024 disbursements. So that would be under the check detail, correct? Anybody have any questions on that?
This is Ed. My only comment isn't on the actual disbursements, but I would ask if it'd be possible for the building inspector invoice, if we get that monthly instead of at the end of the year.
He only submits it at the end of the year.
You,
That's why it just came at the end of the year.
yeah, I wondered if anybody's going to ask me about that $45 a week on me.
I'll tell you why I asked, is I used that to reconcile our building permit spreadsheet. And there were a couple building permits that are on here that weren't on the spreadsheet. It
Oh,
makes it
really?
easier if we can stay on top of it every month instead of annual.
Well, I don't know how they didn't hit the spreadsheet.
We can take that offline.
Yeah.
I think a couple of them were overlooked on the spreadsheet. One of them, I think, was, there's 3 of them we thought offline about. I think I understand them. They're not on here, but they're containers. They may be temporary containers. You actually don't have them on the spreadsheet.
Yeah, well.
I don't know. They're not temporary, that's on temporary construction. I didn't actually go back and look and see if we have a feed for that temporary container. And I think that's why they were on.
Oh. Well, that's a good question. You know, he had to get a permit for that. Well, you know, Is it on? Is it on, Mike? I don't think I, okay. Well, we'll try and clean that up. So your spreadsheet is reflective of what's going on in town.
That's our reason. To me, it would be easier if we could reconcile it every month. Can I actually take it right off this if you do it once? Because I think Sarah knows
Let me see that.
what we get. Sarah knows what we collect on building permits.
That's right.
So, hopefully we can,
Huh. Okay. Which?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, ma'am.
First of all, I can hear you very well, and I think I heard Ramon, but I'm having in and out with Ed and Sarah, please.
Okay, we'll
And
try and get them a little closer to the mic.
yeah, thank you. And Jesse mailed an invoice, I think Monday the 9th. I didn't I think to you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, and I didn't see it in the disbursements.
No, ma'am, I received that Friday afternoon, because that's when I picked up my mail, Friday.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I didn't know what to do with that.
Well, maybe it can be addressed, because I know that the clerk isn't available.
Thought I explained to him what to do with it.
Oh, wait, here, is it okay if I put Jesse on or not?
You know what? Go ahead and put Jesse on. I would just assume Jesse was here, but you can go ahead and put Jesse on.
Well, we would rather be there too if we didn't have a family emergency, believe me. But here he is.
Tom, I thought that my cover letter should be self-explanatory. You did not get that big manila envelope, or you did?
I got an envelope Friday afternoon when I picked up my mail Friday. So if you mailed it on.
Yes, okay.
That's
Monday
what I
the
got.
9th in Ingalls, Kansas. Yeah. And the postmaster said that she thought it'd be there in 3 days. But anyways, I thought I put a cover letter in there asking you to file that for me, please, because I could not be there.
Yes, that's pretty much what you said. Would you like for me to
when I'm there to be questioned, that's fine. I just thought we ought to have it in the 24 expense year.
It's going to have to get some discussion, Jesse. And it didn't make the agenda, so you're just going to have to wait on it.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, so we're going to look into what I might have missed on building permits.
What specifically are you thinking you're missing?
So I don't know if I even brought that with me. Hang on a minute. So I think I'm missing Bob Taylor and his, that might not even have been this year though.
what I saw, is container for Chuck Wall.
Yeah. Oh, that's the one you didn't have?
Well, no, I have it on the spreadsheet, but I don't see it on here.
Oh,
Chuck Wall, I see a well that's EHA approved. But I don't
Right.
see a container.
all right.
It looks like it just didn't get on the invoice. He's
My bad.
paid for that.
My bad. Okay.
And then, other container of use.
Wow. You're really keeping better track of this than I. I've got all this in a file.
Those containers were paid for, so we'll just do another invoice for those two for the building inspector for next month.
Okay.
Or we could do it right quick now.
Um,
Adjustment.
well, now that Ed's brought him up and he is correct, I missed him somewhere.
There is one more. And this one, I don't scratch it. Is on Bowson's on a container.
Bassett, yes, Bassett's got one.
I wasn't sure if they did. It's on our spreadsheet. So,
Well, I'm just batting 1,000 on containers then, aren't I?
well, and my question was they were temporary and I didn't go back to look.
No, they paid permits on those because they still have to meet setbacks.
Okay.
So somebody's still got to put eyeballs on them.
Well, thank you, Ed. Yeah, well, can we just update this?
I'm sorry.
Okay. That's a few dollars more.
All right, 2755 is the new total.
Well, thank you.
Sarah, while you're there, what?
It's in the zoning code on the fee schedule of, I think it's an accessory building. So $100 plus 50 cents a square foot. I think.
I think so. I think so. I don't have that written.
So there's. I'm just looking back. So there's $180 building fee on one container. That's all the Jakes. And it was $340 for 3 containers that he had, but I don't,
Well,
be 110. So I don't know the size.
Well, in order to review and see what he did on that permit, we have to have the permit. I didn't bring a copy of all of that.
So what number did you use?
So I'll tell you what probably happened is if we turned it in on one permit, you paid
Yeah,
one permit.
one permit for 3 containers. And they all landed at the same time.
I'm
2 here and 1
confident that's what
there.
happened.
No, my question is, on wall use and balances, what number did you come up with the new 2755? For the 65%, whatever the fee.
Yeah, so I looked up the fee that was paid
Oh.
in QuickBooks.
Okay, that was my question.
Okay, I've closed it. Do you want to do this now?
We can do it after.
Okay.
All right. Other than that, which we will fix. after the meeting. Any other problems or questions?
Right, so the disbursement's the same, except the new disbursement amount for the building inspector, 2,755.
Okay. Thank you, Ed. We'll, Okay. Good, Ramon?
Yep.
All right.
Mr.
Ready for a motion?
Yes.
I'll move approval of the disbursements with the one change as noted.
All right. Disbursement motion to accept by Ramon.
This is Jara, and I'll second.
All right. We're good then. Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Now we get to the fun part. This is where we get to see how
Mr.
much money we get to put in our savings account. I'm sorry, say that again.
I still can't hear Ed or Sarah very well. I still cannot hear Ed or Sarah very well. Unless I don't see Sarah, but unless Ed's right in the mic. Thank you.
Say that again.
It picks everything up off of that.
Okay. Okay, well, fine. If that helps. Okay, discuss and vote on moving, 45,000 to, C-Safe, which is basically a savings account, isn't it? C-Safe, what would you classify that as? The modified
Yeah.
CD?
It's not a CD. I know they invest some, it's pretty low risk. The funds are all liquid, so it's not a CD. It's just I guess you could call it high interest savings account for
Okay,
municipalities and, yeah, cities and towns.
all right.
So we can't pull out of it.
Their funds are liquid, correct?
How much is that leave in checking?
Well, it's I have to check real quick. Hold on.
It's roughly.
But at least 40,000. Yeah, which we actually really don't need that much. It'd be better if we kept the balance of about 25, but it changed after I finalized everything, so. So we'll just move more next year, not a problem.
I'm just curious. You ready for motion?
Mm-hmm.
I will move that we authorize the clerk treasurer to move $45,000 from Gunnison Bacon Rest to C-Safe.
Suzanne, I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay,
Aye.
thank you. Okay, item 12.3, discuss with possible action, granting a front yard setback variance request to Corey and Stephanie Nassau. And this item contains a public hearing. So we'll just go right on into a public hearing now.
I would suggest let Corey
Let Corey present.
first, and then I can do the staff report, and then the public.
Okay, we'll do that. Corey, you ready?
Oh, I guess. You can get a low battery.
Display of the. Hey,
We're good. Give me 1 second. I had to make some notes on my phone, so I didn't leave anything out. Try to give you guys a little bit of background. I think everybody was probably at the zoning board meeting last week. But my wife and I've been here for 10 years, actually a little over 10 years, which is basically about a third of our life now. We've been Pitkin. My wife and I've had several talks about kind of what we want in the future, goals, life. All these conversations ultimately revolve around building a home that's a foundation for the future. We want to build something that accommodates our family now, our family in the future when we're older and hopefully have grandkids. In short, we won't build a home that's our forever home, which is why we spent probably 5 to 6 years designing and planning a house. To accommodate this, we're requesting 0-foot setback. I don't know how, I think several of y'all were either at the meeting or on the call. The 0-foot setbacks on the northeast side of our property, 11th Street. The proposed house is situated at really only one corner of the drip edge of the house actually touches the property line. Essentially, the house then tapers away from it. I still haven't pulled the exact number, but it's somewhere 2 to 3 feet at the other basically drip edge of the house. The foundation ultimately will be about 18 inches further away from the property line. We're planning on an 18-inch overhang on the house. So the place is basically the far corner of the house, or the closest 18 inches away from the property line, and up to 3 to 4 feet away from the property line at the other corner of the garage. Two things we took into consideration while we were designing the house was ensure the roof wouldn't actually shed snow on anywhere but our own property, so it doesn't shed snow on 11th Street, doesn't impact snow plowing in the winter. It doesn't impact any access to the irrigation ditch, which does run across basically about the middle of our property, kind of bisects our property. It also doesn't impact any access or use to the 11th Street or neighboring properties. The street right away there is either 60 or 66 foot. I don't remember off the top of my head. But the drivable portion of the road is approximately 30 foot from our property. So essentially, you can pull in with a crew cab long bed truck and still park off the road between our proposed house and roadway. We also still have ample parking in other areas of the property, just to ensure that we have no, you never know what's going to happen in the future, right? So we also ensure that we have ample off-street parking for any visitors or friends that come to see us. I think it was September, Sarah came out, looked at the property in the staff report, which I'm sure she'll come up bill in a moment. We discussed that the topography of the property basically prevents us moving the house further, would be essentially south away from the property line. It drops 10 to 12 foot at kind of the back edge of the house or the proposed house. She also noted that should the town ever want to shift 11th Street into the middle of the right of way, it would really require moving probably 10 to 12 very mature trees. So I'm hoping get approval of our variance tonight so we can continue our progress in building the house. The request was heard already by the zoning board last week, who voted unanimously to send this variance request to the town council with a recommendation. If you guys have any questions, please ask. I'll clarify the best of my ability. And at least there, I'll probably have some stuff to fill in and confirm whether we had any variance requests. Thank you guys and gal.
Okay, thank you, Corey. Okay, Sarah, would you give your report?
Okay, so this is essentially the same staff report that I provided for the zoning board of adjustment. And I did visit the property and I walked the property with Mr. Nasso. And just first and foremost, I can say that he accurately represented not only the property, but the hardships that exist on his particular property. On the south side, there is a pretty severe drop off. It's not even a slope, it's just a drop. It is probably 10 to 12 feet. I declined to visit the bottom of the drop off, so this is my best estimate. I think Corey's pretty accurate on that one. If you were to observe an aerial photo of the Nassau property, you can see that the town ditch cuts the property almost in half. And north or above the ditch toward State Street is where his leach field is located. So that area of the property is essentially unusable because of the ditch. And I assume that that's why they chose to put their leach field there, since it was not a usable space due to the location of the town ditch. I can confirm that the driving surface of 11th Street is at least 30 feet away from the property line. There are numerous, at least 12 trees that lie within the plat, but off of the driving surface. So if the town should want to develop 11th Street to its full width or move the driving surface, those trees would need to be cut and the ditch would need to have a significant amount of work to be able to accommodate moving 11th Street, if the town was to decide to do that in the future. So, that's all I've got for you, but I would say that Corey's representation of what's happening at his property is accurate, and the drawings and everything that you received are accurate and should allow you to make your decision. I can also confirm that the zoning board did vote unanimously last month, or last week, last month. I don't remember when they met and talked about this. There was a unanimous vote that, the trustees approved the variance request.
Okay,
Tom, if I may, maybe I.
yes, Ed, go ahead. You are on, yeah.
Like that. I have a story. So on behalf of the zoning board, when we met, as Sarah said, it was a unanimous decision of 4-0 to approve and to recommend approval by the board of trustees for this variance, really for the following reasons. And they've been stated, but I just want to state them again on behalf of the zoning board. The first being that the front property drops off significantly. And if you have the drawings in front of you on page 4 of the drawings, if you have to blow it up, if it's on your computer, it is a topography drawing. You cut it from the property, will drop off anywhere from the drawing 10 to 15 feet significantly. So I looked at it, the board looked at it, is okay, the house couldn't move towards the creek anymore because of the slope and the drop off. Behind the property, behind where the house is drawn on the drawing, is the fire ditch that cuts, as Sarah said, cuts the property in half. So you can't move it towards the north side of the property. It's in the ditch. And then across the ditch is where the current septic field is. So it would meet setbacks for well and so forth put in. And then to the west side of the property, it's up to extremely close to the current cabin, this existing cabin that's there. So you can't move it that way. So the house is situated in the lot, basically the only place you can put it. And I think those meet the requirements for our hardships. Then we looked at from the traffic pattern of 11th Street, as Corey stated, it's 30 feet from the edge of the traffic pattern to the property line. The setback is that they're requesting is a 0 setback. However, it's only the one corner of the eave that would be on the property line, which is an 18-inch overhang on the eave. So this is the foundation, roughly 18 inches at least. That's the closest it's going to be to the property line. And then the house is situated in a diagonal. So the other side of the house, the closest point to the property line is 3 or 4 feet from the property line. And as Corey stated, all the snow shed, which is really one of the big reasons I understand we have a 10-foot variances, a 10-foot setback, excuse me. The snow shed is really, it's all on their property. None of it would fall on town property whatsoever. So for those reasons, that's why the zoning board approved it to move to the board of trustees for approval on it. 4-0 unanimous vote.
All right.
I just have one question, Ed. I don't understand why this is here. The zoning board has is there something different about this variance that needs this board's approval over the zoning board?
That's a valid question.
Would you like me to respond to that? Because I ran
Yes.
this by our attorney, and because the town is an interested party, being that the setback is to 11th Street, he suggested that the town board should hear this variance request.
Okay. I don't see the need for our approval, though. The zoning code, I think, clearly empowers the zoning board to approve this type of a variance. It's a setback, a variance on the setback from the street, not an encroachment on the street. So.
Yeah.
That's why I asked the question.
Thank you, Ramon. Okay, we will move to the public hearing aspect of this procedure. Does anybody have any comments, any questions, anything they want to say?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me, I just wanted to go on record as agreeing with Ramon, please.
Would you repeat that, Jared? I didn't catch the last few words.
I just wanted to go on record as agreeing with Ramon's comments about not sure why we had to hear it, but that's all I wanted to say.
Right. Well, the fact is that letters are sent out to adjacent properties and interested parties, and Mr. Buchner's comment was, well, the town is an interested party since he abuts property, and therefore, just to cover all your bases, take it to the trustees. So just by way of comment, you've got one coming up here that you're going to be looking at that won't have to come to trustees because, never mind, forget I said that. That's next week's problem, this week's problem. Yeah, be the last meeting of the year too.
It might be after we're done with this, a question for our town attorney, because there is some confusion.
Oh, okay. My bad. Well, we're still open to public comments for public hearing. And if we don't, I don't guess we have anybody else online, do we?
We do, but I have not seen any hands raised to make a comment.
Okay. Well, we'll leave this open for just another minute, just to cover our bases. And then we will close the public hearings. Okay. All right, we're going to call that the closing of our public hearing. Any comments from members of the board?
I just have one more question, Ed, to clarify. The zoning board did approve the variance as well as make a recommendation to us to approve it.
I would ask Sarah to actually read that motion to confirm that.
No, the zoning board did not approve. What they approved was to make a recommendation, a unified recommendation to the board of trustees.
Okay, that's not what I heard, so that's why I
So,
asked.
yeah, it is up to us then. All right,
In that case, I'll make a motion to approve the variance request.
okay,
This is Jera, and I'll second.
okay. We have a motion and a second to approve the variance request by Corey and Stephanie Nassau. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right. Thank you. Motion carries. Okay. Item 12-4, discuss with possible action adopting resolution 2024-9 version 1 or version 212-5. Sarah, so somewhere in here, I missed the 212-5 portion of this.
Can I see what you're looking at?
Doesn't sound right. I think that printed funny. Yeah, it did. This is just 12-5 item. So it's just one or two.
It's one
Yeah.
or two.
Yeah, so this is 12.
Oh, it did print funny.
It printed funny.
Okay. Because I looked a couple times and going, well, this isn't turning up here, so I'll just ask when we get there. All right. So everybody, let me find my sheet.
So just to start this off, just a couple more housekeeping items, because the town opted to hire a consultant, that person needs to be officially named as a designated election official. And she also requested that I be given authorization to appoint election judges. This is just, again, it's a housekeeping. We try to use some of our same judges because they've worked well for us in the past and have been trained. She will provide their training this year. But what this does is this allows us to just find and appoint people rather than have to continually call special meetings to try to appoint judges prior to the election. Just as a matter of procedure, I endeavor to not hire judges out of Pitkin, but rather Ohio City or possibly Gunnison, depending on who we're able to get. So we are going to stick with that as a plan unless we just really get desperate and can't get enough judges. So those two things those are going to be on the resolution regardless. Number 3, this was an item that I had asked about at either the work session or the special meeting we had earlier this month. Whether the board wants to open up the election to anybody who might be interested in putting their name in, or whether they wanted to set a ballot question. One point that came up in discussions with Attorney Bochner about this is that, there are still the option for people to be write-in candidates. So even if the board set a ballot question, if somebody else decided that they were interested in running, they could still put their name in. So it may be easier just to open it up. I'm not sure if the board has any questions for Attorney Bochner on whether or not one or the other is preferable for setting up the ballot, but those were the two options. Just state that it's an election to elect a mayor or to set a ballot question.
So we posted for several months ago for a vacancy on the board for both mayor and trustee, did we not?
That's correct.
Well, it would be my take that, it would seem a little, I don't know what that, you called it a ballot question?
Correct.
Yeah. So it seems odd that we would, as a board, dictate who can run and who cannot. If we have someone interested, why? Yay. Maybe. I'd say just open it up.
So the question that I raised in the previous meeting, it's really a question, I guess, for kind of attorney, is because we opened it up previously and we had 2 nominations. Is there a state statute or anything that says that we can't open it up for additional people or for someone else decides they want to put their name in the hat? That was my question. I don't know legally, can we or can we not open it up if it was posted and we had 2 nominees?
So you didn't have nominees. What you had were 2 interested parties. Nobody was nominated. People just put their names in. A nomination is when you complete a petition and you get signatures and you become officially nominated.
But those 2 people did get signatures. And we had to submit signatures for the nomination.
Not,
I don't know.
no, you didn't. You do that when you became trustee. That's maybe what you're remembering.
Not to the one position.
No, no.
Having trouble hearing again, please.
Okay, Ed, rephrase your question one more time.
So is there, this is, I guess, for the town attorney, is there any state statute or anything that legally says that we can't do either the ballot question or someone raises their hand and says they want to run? And then that brings up a further question of what Sarah said. If we had to do that for the board of trustee position, would someone have someone new outside of the board of trustees that wants to nominate or self-nominate for the mayor? Do they have to do that? I don't know. That's a question.
No, so the way it works is that if there's a vacancy, the board of trustees is authorized by statute to fill the vacancy with a vote. And that's what this board attempted to do. There were no nominations. So now we have to go to an election. And the suggestion was to just make a general ballot question that says this election will be to elect a mayor for the town of Pitkin. And then any interested party who wants to run for mayor would then get themselves nominated. So it's an actual election procedure, since filling the position via a vote did not succeed. So now we're doing election procedures. And when I asked, this board was split with two people saying, well, I think only Ed and Tom should be on the ballot, and two people saying just let anybody become nominated to be on the ballot. And so the board has to decide how it wants to do that. It may be worth asking Attorney Bodnar if the town can legally limit it to two people, because that I don't know. I don't know if that's allowed. So that would be a question that I would like to hear from the attorney to answer, is can the town prevent people from running and getting nominated by setting a specific ballot question with only two people's names on it?
Well, I don't think it's a matter of preventing people from running, but if somebody wants to run, they have to make the ballot, because it's an election, a special election. There's ballot rules. And from my understanding of it, and again, this is the first special election under the new statute, but my understanding is that up until the actual election, you can withdraw the special ballot question and appoint someone, but there's no way to add someone as a write-in after you send out the ballot unless they've gone through the proper procedure with the affidavit to become a nominee or to become a person that can be voted for. So I mean, the answer isn't that you are preventing people from doing it, but the people who want to run have to, or if somebody wants to nominate someone to run, then they have to go through the affidavit process and get put on the ballot, which there's a time limit for that because the town has to prepare those ballots.
Okay, so anybody that wanted to run would have to get X number of signatures on their nomination petition and then get that notarized and then turn it into the clerk, and then she would verify that the signatures are legit, and then she would say whether or not they were eligible.
Right,
And
based on the person, where because there are requirements for town officer positions. So you're gonna they can't just be somebody from a different state or whatever the case may be. There's certain requirements, and so that the person has to be vetted, and the affidavit and signatures have to all be from people that are proven voters. It's more complicated than that, but the voting and the special elections are very highly nuanced area of clerking and practicing municipal law. And so, I would have to do a little more research if we had any more, if the question were to go beyond that, but that's my understanding of it.
Can I ask one more question? Mr. Bodnar. So basically what you're saying too is that both Tom and myself, since we were on the board of trustees trying to appoint someone for this election, we still have to go through that process of securing signatures and everything like a normal election.
I think.
Exactly.
I think that's for write-ins. I think if you want to add somebody to as a write-in, you know, after the board has made nominations, that's different. Like I said, election law is, you know, it actually changed in the last year, and it's already complicated on top of that. My understanding is that only write-ins have to do that. You, if you're going to try to write into the special ballot, that you have to present the affidavit. But I'm not certain about the nuances of all that. If you already had nominated trustees, I think that's different. But I have to get into the election law and answer that. Right now, I think all you're dealing with is additional, you know, possibly additional nominees that were not originally, you know, put into the ballot at the outset.
Can we come back to this one? Because I'm going to pull up the statute. And the question is not so much about write-in candidates, but whether or not Ed and Tom can just be on the ballot if they haven't gone through the nomination procedure and completed an affidavit of being nominated. That's the primary question.
Yeah, I think, and I think we have got to bring up the statute. I think that they can, because of their position as a board, as a trustee member. It doesn't, and the reason I get to that conclusion legally is using just, you know, the basic logic of the fact that if at any point you wanted to, you guys could all vote to appoint one or the other of you to the mayor position. So it doesn't make sense to me that you'd have to go through a vetting process as sitting trustees to get your name on a ballot. Either one of you could be appointed off as the mayor right now if you could have, you know, if you could get to a majority vote. So to have to go through the whole nominee affidavit process doesn't make sense from a logical standpoint. Although I've been surprised before with Colorado law and logic, but that's why I'm drawing that conclusion. So, and I guess the answer is, if you're not comfortable with that, you're going to have to let me and Sarah look at the statute and give you a definitive answer. But that's my understanding of it.
Okay. So one more time to turn this question one other way. So as it stands, it would seem that Ed and I are going to be on the ballot. If someone else wanted to run and be on the ballot, and they went through the process of filling out the nomination petitions and being vetted and getting it notarized and all that, could another person run, or another two people run?
Yes.
Thank you. Well, I think the question is about our Judy Egbert of GovPro Consulting. Maybe more so than what this ballot looks like at this point. Sarah, how long prior to an election does someone have the opportunity to get nomination petitions circulated and notarized and all that?
So you have from the 91st day before the election to the 71st day before the election to pick up a petition, circulate it, and get it approved. And if you want to be a write-in candidate, I think the deadline for that is you have to file an affidavit to be a write-in candidate no later than the 64th day of the election. Because that's the cutoff day for when the town could potentially cancel the election if there were no more candidates for open seats in the 64th day prior. That, the board is gonna need to decide how it wants to organize this ballot tonight, because if the board opts to have anybody whose name is gonna be on the ballot, the nomination petition, those have to go out in early January, which is prior to the next regular meeting. Those have to be ready to go. I think the 91st day before might be the 6th or the 7th potentially.
Of January.
Right, so the board needs to decide tonight.
So that's notification to whom?
So can you restate your question, please?
Okay, so you say the board has to decide so that we can notify on the 91st day before the election that this is open.
Right, so if the board is right, because if the board waits till after that point to then say, oh, by the way, let's fill out some nomination petitions, then we have not met our statutory calendar deadlines of providing those petitions on the 91st day prior to the election.
Okay,
Because the reason, well, one of the reasons that April was chosen is because then we can run the election on the regular election calendar rather than having to squish everything together and try to guesstimate on deadlines. Sometimes an election can be pulled off in less than 90 days leading up to it, but because we had the time and because the time worked out with the consultant, we chose that date so that we could do the normal timeline.
okay, so we have to decide tonight whether this is,
So can we do that? The resolution 1 and 2 is for Judy Egbert to be the designated elected official. 2 is for Sarah to be appointing the judges.
that's correct.
And then the third is the special municipal election shall be elected to elect a mayor to serve until April 6, 2026. We can do those 3 and still open it up for anybody that wants to nominate by the 91st to the 71st day. I think that the question, what comes into play is the ballot, if we want to have a ballot question with a write-in candidate. Is that correct?
Not necessarily. No, there's just the reason that there's a line for a write-in is because until the 64th day before the election, there's the option for somebody who, if they wanted to be a write-in.
For a third or fourth person.
That's going to be on the ballot either way if we get somebody who fills out an affidavit and says they want to be a write-in. If we don't get anybody, then we wouldn't include it on the final ballot. So it doesn't matter. Like putting that line on, I think if that's what you're asking. Maybe I'm misunderstanding.
I understood the way you have it written in the resolution is that you have both Tom and my name and then a blank is for a write-in candidate. And a write-in candidate, and they've got to do all the affidavit and stuff.
No, a write-in candidate only has to fill out one paper that says, I'm qualified and I want to be a write-in. They don't have to get signatures. They just fill out the affidavit to be a write-in candidate. I'm pretty sure. Let me double check that because we haven't had one of those for a few years.
So, yeah, it sounds like you're saying that if someone decided to run for a write-in, run on a write-in, whatever you want to call it, that's totally legit and unavoidable. And if somebody else wanted to run and we have not provided nomination petitions to be available by the 91st day before the election, then that.
Right. So somebody might not want to be a write-in. They might want to be listed on the ballot.
Right.
And so it might make more sense. Because, you know, it might make more sense. They might want to just be listed as a choice. So it could be that the board just says, we're gonna elect a mayor, and then everybody fills out a nomination. That way, everybody's doing the same thing. And if there happens to be a third or fourth candidate, everybody's doing the same thing. Not some people just got put on the ballot because they were already trustees. Some people had to fill out a nomination petition because they weren't. It's not going to be to anyone's detriment, I don't believe, unless you can't get 10 signatures to fill out a nomination petition.
That doesn't matter.
Right, and then it doesn't matter. So then, right, I mean, it seems to me that that would be a good way to just make sure that all the bases are covered. Because if we set a ballot question, I mean, I suppose we could always go back and change the ballot question before we have to print the ballots. Or we could just have everybody do the same thing. And this is just assuming too that there may be somebody else that wants to run. There may not be. There may be a good point. But that way we don't have two people that just got put and other candidates that had to go through the process.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Ma'am.
Oh my goodness, what a tangled web we weave. For months now, I think we have spent plenty of time on this. We have two people who are willing to be mayor, and I think we've spent enough time on this. I think it should just be Tom Gibb and Ed Pianalto on the ballot. It's not like in the town of Pitkin, we ever have people knocking down the door to give of your time. So I'm for, let's get this done and make it as simple as possible. We've had two people for months and months, and I don't know, unless you guys are hearing a rumor around town, I've been gone for 3 months now, but I think this is much ado about nothing, and I think we should vote and get this done with, please.
Well, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we are going to have a vote. There will be an election, and the question is, if somebody out there wants to run also, can they? And just from my point of view, it seems awkward to say, oh, no, it's just these two. Nobody else can run. And Sarah says it'd be pretty easy to just open it up, and Ed and I'd have to get our 10 signatures, and away we go. But that way, it would not be exclusive. It would be inclusive. Anybody that wanted to could, and nobody would say bad things about us. Well, now that's not true, but anyway. So I'll say items 1, 2, and 3 are a go with my opinion. Just let it be open, and anybody that feels compelled can put their name in. They can jump through the hoops properly.
I'd like to make a statement on this. The statute says that when there's a vacancy on the board of trustees, which we have, the board can appoint a replacement to fill that vacancy. If the board does not appoint a replacement, then I believe the statute says that we shall hold an election to fill that replacement. And that's basically the point at which we're at. And I don't see anything in the statute that says we can limit that election or do anything else with it. It's an election to fill the vacancy. And I think for the 4 of us who are unable to make a majority vote to fill the vacancy, I think it's way beyond what we should be doing to tell the electorate, well, you got to fill the vacancy, but you can only do it this way. It's got to be an election, free and fair. And whoever wants to run for mayor can follow the procedure to be on the ballot. I think it's that simple, at least in my simple mind.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes, ma'am.
we are not filling a vacancy for the Board of Trustees. We are filling a vacancy for the mayor. That was a differentiation that our attorney made. And this whole thing is rotten from the get-go, I think, when we could not, when the whole technicality was there was no vacancy on the Board of Trustees. There is no vacancy on the Board of Trustees until we can elect the mayor. And I am so sorry that we're in this conundrum. I don't think we're limiting the great. If we could be, that's wonderful if people get involved and want to run. I am not opposed to that. But we have spent way too much time on this, and it's been months and months now. It's not good for the town. Please, can we get on with this? Thank you.
Thank you, Jared.
Can I make a motion?
You may make a motion.
I will move that we adopt resolution number 9, series 2024, to include all of the wording down through number 3 and not include everything from the word or following.
I see.
That's not quite everything. Still made the introduced pass.
So-
You're basically just taking out the ballot.
Yeah. Yeah, just an election, special election in this case for mayor within the town of Pitkin, and the statutes govern how we hold an election for mayor.
Well, I just want to be clear on the motion. So the introduced, pass, and adoption 16th day of December, that stays in. You're only taking out the ballot question box.
Right.
Okay. I'll second that motion. You don't know the road.
Okay. Sarah, did you get that? Okay, we have a motion and a second. So all in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed, same sign.
Nay.
Nay. All right. Motion carries 3-1. So Judy and Sarah's authorized as town clerk to appoint election judges. That will save her having to get permission from the board for every judge that she appoints. And if we have someone out there that wants to jump through the hoops, they can get their name on the ballot also. Are you listening? Oh. Say that again. Okay. After the vote. Okay, go ahead.
So just would like to ask our clerk treasurer, Ms. Sarah Gibbs, if she would share with the listening audience what the consulting fee is and any additional costs for the election estimates.
The consulting fee is $7,000 plus the cost of ballots, judges pay, printing. That's to be determined, approximately $2,000, so 9. Yes.
Okay. We have, received a draft of an ordinance, I believe, of the, volunteer job description. So we say, this is item 12-5. Discuss with possible action adopting this ordinance. Everybody get a chance to read that?
Yes.
Any discussion?
I have several things.
Okay, talk right up close to the mic there, Ramon.
Okay. First of all, if this ordinance is to be passed tonight, number 1 needs to be scratched. That was done for the 2018 ordinance to repeal the previous, or I guess if we wanted, to me, it's not really a new ordinance, it's a revision, but if we want to do it as a new ordinance, and I guess that should be repeals resolution 3, I think it is.
Yeah,
I changed-
ordinance 3, series
2018.
2018.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my
Change-
mistake.
change that. Secondly, number 2, A, B, C, D, E, not 2 Ds. And those are the only changes I have to the draft as written, but I would like to suggest another addition to it. And this would be placed basically as a new section 5, moving everything from 5 on down to the next number. And that's to read as follows. Commissioners may initiate spending within the annual budget for normal maintenance and clerical work or supplies. Other work or expenditures shall be submitted to the Board of Trustees for approval prior to commitment. What I'm trying to do is clarify what authority the commissioners have in spending. And, as a commissioner, I don't think it should be just, whatever is approved by the board in the budget, I can go ahead and have that done automatically. Especially if it involves anything new or not previously discussed by the board. And we'll get to something exactly that way further in the agenda.
Yeah, so would you read that for me one more time, what you just?
Okay. Get back to the right spot.
I'm not trying to.
Where did you want?
I would put it as 5 right before the description of the commission, the rest of it. Okay. Commissioners may initiate spending within the annual budget for normal maintenance and clerical work or supplies. Other work or expenditures shall be submitted to the Board of Trustees for approval prior to commitment.
Okay, so normal maintenance, clerical work or supplies. Within the annual budget.
Yeah.
Okay.
Take a picture of it and then read.
Good. Ed wants to take a picture.
Okay. Then I can digest.
All right. Well, while you have the mic, is there any other thoughts? That was it?
What I stated. Yeah.
Okay. So, I guess, just because I'm Mr. Catastrophe oriented, what would be, what category, what would be abnormal maintenance? Some kind of disaster where something happens and a meteorite comes through your roof and now you got to take care of not just the roof, but the trusses that hold it. So that would take you basically outside your budget anyway. So, okay, never mind. I'm rambling. I don't think I see any fault with that.
I guess, Tom, to answer your question, abnormal maintenance would be exactly what we have with the town hall right now, where one corner is separating and in danger of falling off the
Yeah.
building.
Well-
And so we went through a whole process the town hall commissioner at the time went through a whole process to apply for a grant.
Get a grant, yes.
To help pay for it, and it was all presented to the board and approved.
Okay,
Whereas normal maintenance on the town hall is,
like painting the steps.
yeah,
Okay. Thank you. Everybody still reading? Still looking? I read through this a couple times, and the only thing this requires consistent forward looking. And then sharing what your vision and your problems that you expect, because typically it's problems, or your improvements or whatever, and keeping the board apprised of that. And that we do get commissioner reports. This might add just a tad more detail to those. By the way, I did appreciate your report. We get to talk about that here in just a minute, because it's one of the things that came to mind when I was looking at the SLFRF funds. Okay. Volunteer job descriptions. Anybody have any problems with this, or are we?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes, ma'am.
I just think as a board, we should go on record. There's a reason we have been able to remain the oldest continuously incorporated town on the Western Slope. And it's wonderful. We've had board of trustees, and then whatever year the zoning board came along to help alleviate some of the problems that all the effort that the board of trustees had to do. And I don't know how long we've had volunteers, but can you imagine through the years how much money our volunteers, not just the commissioners, maybe especially the commissioners because they round up other volunteers, but I tell you, we need to appreciate our volunteers. And I have no problem with what has been said tonight at all. I just think we need to always really highly regard anybody who volunteers for our town. They only do it for the love of the town. I can't think of any other reason they would do it, but it has not been a small contribution. So thank you to all the many, many, many years of volunteers we've had, and those present, and hopefully those to come. It's kind of gotten a little skimpy. So, but thank you to volunteers, and we want to always remember that, I believe. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
So I am going to chime in here. I'm going to hold it back. I have no issue with the ordinance the way it's rewritten. Part that does disturb me is brought up previous meeting how I was the one that was pushing for job descriptions. I went back and reviewed the minutes from 6 months ago, and yes, I was pushing for job
I
descriptions.
cannot hear.
I'll speak up. Can you hear me better? So I was pushing for job description with 8 employees in the family. And I've been amazed at how we've never made any traction with those job descriptions. But in the last month, we were able to have an individual volunteer for a commissioner job. And all of a sudden, we need to have a job description of commissioners. And within a month, we were able to push through a work session, rewrite the ordinance that we already had with a few revisions. We still never said anything for job descriptions of our paid employees. That's what I'm disturbed. So I want to throw that out. I agree with what Jared said, that our volunteers are volunteers. I think we better be very thankful when we have a volunteer or a person to step up and want to say, I want to do a volunteer job. Because we're putting more restraints on volunteers to the job description than they are on employees.
Well, that was kind of where I was headed with my little thing about this. Our monthly reports are typically fairly basic, and to include your vision and what you did last month and what you did this month and what you're looking for next month. Could make the volunteer position less attractive, which is what you were referring to here. On the other hand, I don't know what to do for it. The jobs have expectations, and that's just kind of the nature of jobs.
I think as a board of trustees, when we're working with the budget, I think we've got to know, it doesn't matter what position it is, we've got to know what the plan is today and tomorrow. And that's how you look at the budget. I don't have an issue with it. I know it's going to work through the numbers to do that. But I think the board needs to. Maybe come. And not be alone.
That day may come. All right. Well, I guess it's time to say yay or nay on this issue. I'm happy with the addition that Ramon made. It may be a rewrite of some stuff we've already done, but what was that ordinance number 3?
2018.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to make a motion, I would entertain it at this time.
I will make a motion to adopt ordinance number 7, series 2024, with the edits that Sarah has already included, and with the change in number 1 from resolution number 2 to ordinance number 3, series 2018. And the change in number 2 to be A, B, C, D, E instead of D, D. And for number 5 to be inserted, as I have read, regarding spending. And then all of the subsequent numbers following that, starting with number 5, should be renumbered 6 through whatever, 14, I suppose.
Okay,
That's a motion.
Ramon has made a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'm sorry, I was having a hard time with my mic. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you fine.
I'll second it.
All right. We have a motion and we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right.
Aye.
Thank you, Dara. There's a little time delay, you know. So it's always fun.
And I have a request, Sarah, would you obviously reprint this and distribute it, especially to all the commissioners, including me?
Yes, it will go into effect next month.
Thank you.
All right.
One more thing, I noticed the typographical one that you want.
Yes, so if you wouldn't mind telling me that, I'll get that fixed right now.
Okay, on that, say that 2D, it's supposed to be E. The town hall commissioner, semicolon him.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
think you can do that.
thank you.
Just
Got it.
as I was scrolling. So,
Okay, moving on. Item number 12. -6.
No,
Yep.
that is supposed to be there, because these are things that are. Let me double check that, that might need to be there, because it's a list of things that the board is resolving. Or ordaining.
but I can.
Yeah, so for example, the following commissioner positions are hereby created, and the commissioner agent position set forth, and I'm not sure if it's supposed to be, it might be I'll double check.
Okay.
It might be a formatting thing. I'll double check that and, yeah, thank you.
All right. Moving on to discuss allocating town hall funds for OWTS engineering. And then notation says, please see commissioner's report. So did you guys get a chance to read Ramon's report? So I'll just read it. So he's working on plans for the spring of 2025 to include, as Ramon just talked about, repair of the west corner stone wall. And that the state historical fund grant is still in effect and will be paying for 75% of this work.
I might also add that that's in the budget.
And it is in the budget as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
I'll check. I was just checking because I can't remember how much the grant was for. If it's less than $6,000, then it is in the budget. Right. Yeah. So are you talking about for the engineering you're requesting or for the grant?
The grant.
Yeah, the grant's in the budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then so that was part of Ramon's report, and he just talked about earlier. But this is for OWTS engineering, and that falls under item number 2 of Mr. Reed's report. And he said, my next project for the town hall will be a proposal for the addition of a public restroom structure with an OWTS and water supply adjacent to the building. And I've contacted an engineer for the purpose of necessary engineering drawings. And I assume that will come with a estimate of what it would take to do this. And this can be followed either contracting for architectural plans or publishing for requests for proposals, or that would be submitted to the Board of Trustees for approval. And Ramon is chasing after making full use of this facility. And the town hall's kind of languished the last few years. I don't know if that's just the nature of the town or the condition of the town hall or the promotions that have been. But anyway, number 3, I'm looking forward to the potential plans for providing handicap access to events on the 2nd floor of town hall. This is the first step that I then want to follow up on with application for grant funding, which I believe will be available for meeting requirements of the American Disabilities Act. And I would like to have input or discussion from the board regarding the use of budgeted funds for this project. Okay, so while everybody's thinking, I got another thing to throw out, which moves us just slightly into the next section. Because we have the SLFRF. And so what does this stand for?
You're going to ask me. I don't remember.
Okay, never mind.
State and local something recovery.
It's
fund.
federal money, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the town, without a whole lot of hoorah and paperwork, can claim a standard replacement revenue for replacement of this or that to cover. And so Sarah has included in here claiming the standard revenue replacement and obligating funds to cover. And she's got 3 things down here: town hall projects in 2025, but we have no number there.
Right, and actually there is a typo, I noticed it, so it would be town hall projects and public works. So we do have a number for public works and town hall projects that are upcoming, that's why these are in the order that they are. One is if the board, approves the use of some of these funds for the town hall commissioner to proceed with the engineering, that will cover that, and, I'm not sure if trustee Reed has an estimate on that cost, but I would guess a few thousand at least to get septic and well engineered. And then the town is already, obligated to pay the 25% match for the grant that we received, which is $8,942. And I don't know if this is something the town is interested in doing, but there have been plans for a number of years for the town to finally make the lower level, at least of town hall ADA compliant by completing that ramp and putting in an actual parking spot down there. So that the money could be used for that as well. And as revenue replacement, the town is allowed to use that revenue in the way that it would normally use revenue. So the town can fill up the propane, pay for the electric bill, pay for fire extinguishers to be inspected, and make any fixes or maintenance things that need to be done as a result of the yearly audit that we have from SURSA. So they suggested repainting the steps, for example, just to protect the steps because the paint is peeling away. So there's a number of minor projects that needs to be handled with town hall. And if the board would be willing to claim the standard revenue replacement and then obligate those funds to cover all the town hall projects, we should be able to use the money for those purposes.
Okay, so then my next question is, so what is the total amount of this standard revenue replacement that we're
Up to $10 million. So we're pretty solidly underneath that amount. We received about $17,000. So that means we can claim all of the funds for revenue replacement.
Up to 17,000.
Correct. I think it was 17,300 and something, so approximately 17,000.
okay, so along with funds, obligating funds to cover town hall projects and public works, which is restrooms in 2025. Is public works restrooms, is that porta potties?
Yes.
Okay. And then we have a total obligated to streets and ditches, and that number is 16,000 and some.
So that was a typo. No, the total obligated, that should have said total obligated to town hall, 16,493.13. That was an agenda typo, and I apologize for that.
Okay.
So what happens with this SLRF funds if we obligated, say the 16,493 to the town hall, and we get drawings back? Well, realistically, you can't put another EPS system in for $17,000. It's going to be way over that.
Right.
What happens then if we decide, whoa, septic comes in at 40,000? If we decide not to do that, then what happens to those SLRF funds?
So the plan was, because the town has not yet decided that it's going to go the route of a septic necessarily, I mean, there's other options that may be considered. The obligation of these funds would not necessarily be for the actual system, whatever that ends up being. It would be for the engineering. It would be for the grant match. It would be for regular town hall maintenance and the parking spot at the bottom of the ramp.
So it funds us to find out what we can do.
Right. It funds the engineering. So to meet with Sarah Bergstrom and say, what can we do with the space that you have? Because that's going to be a significant cost, and so these funds can cover that. For not only, as revenue replacement, again, when you claim the standard allowance for revenue replacement, then the town is allowed to use the revenue replacement to do town things, which would include public health, like restrooms, ADA compliance. So all those things are covered under revenue replacement. You just have to list out what you're going to do with them. So in April of 2025, I'll be filling out another report and letting them know what have we done with these funds.
Okay, so, yeah, the reason I jumped down to here is because I saw it lends itself to the item 12-6, which is allocating funds for OWTS engineering. So this SLFRF, this funding would allow us to do that without dipping into other places.
Correct. Yes, correct.
Do we need to, or would it be a good idea to amend the budget to include that at this point? Is that part, when you say obligated, what does that entail?
Well, that was exactly my question, and I spent several hours trying to figure out what exactly they wanted. There's a huge list of what they don't want. And not on that list is allocating. So if the board allocates the funds to town hall projects, as best as I can tell, that should be adequate. But they made it's not a resolution, it's not a budget, it's not an appropriation, and I'm like, well, that's fine, just tell me what you want. And being that it was from the government, they would not do that. So, again, as best I can tell, and with everybody that I talked to allocate the funds could be considered an obligation because they're things that happen in the normal course of business for the town. Because my question for the revenue replacement was, well, we have the money. We can't sign a contract with ourselves saying we're going to give ourselves this money. That's absurd. So this is the best that I could come up with after several hours of research and talking to many people and watching a lot of presentations and reading a lot of slides.
Well, another question, I don't know if it's feasible or not. Could we use those funds for any repairs on Main Street?
Potentially, yes.
Well, it's not a lot when it comes to asphalt, let's say that.
No, and that's part of the reason, I looked at different options I looked into actually just paying personnel because that would be a really super easy one. It's something that the town is already obligated to because the position is already created. And after a little bit of digging, I learned that you can only pay certain types of personnel. And so that was a no-go. And so taking it in a different direction and trying to see where the town could get the most done in terms of different projects, some of which are already obligated because we've already signed the paperwork for the grant, even prior to tonight. And then the parking spot and finishing out the ramp at Town Hall has been kind of on the back burner for a number of years. It was probably 2 or 3 boards ago that the town said that they wanted to get that done. And it just, for one reason or another, has not happened yet. And so to just kind of clean up some of those projects and then also be in line with Mr. Reed's plans for the town hall to make it ADA compliant and to keep up with the maintenance and make it usable. This seemed like a good option. So that's why I chose this one to present to the board.
So exactly what and when do you have to do something?
So tonight the board would vote. We do have to claim the revenue replacement and allocate the funds, obligate the funds to cover town hall projects and public works by December 31st. The funds don't have to be spent until, I want to say, it might be December of 26. However, the municipalities are getting a lot of encouragement to try to just spend the funds and not hang on to them. By April of 2025, I'll have to file a report stating what this town chose to do with its funds. So if some of those funds could be spent by that time, that would be helpful to be able to say that we've already completed XYZ projects.
I bet we can do that.
So just to confirm what I think you answered this before, sir. Let's say we go with OWTS engineering, the ADA ramps to use this money on, and then we spend that money on the engineering, on the ramp, and we spend the 16,000, 17,000. Then we realize we don't have money in the budget to do the OWTS system.
That's okay.
That is okay. We can't come back on us.
Absolutely not. No, if we obligated the money and said, we're going to put in an OWTS system and then didn't do it, that would be different. But we're just saying we're going to get the engineering done.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, ma'am.
I also remember several years ago, when the OWTS came up for discussion at our wonderful historic city hall, and I can't recall too much about it. Did we ever get a survey at that time? I was thinking at that time that maybe there wasn't enough, that we didn't have enough land, enough property for an OWTS. Does anybody recall anything?
There has not been a survey at town hall since I've been clerk. Possibly prior to that time, but not in the last 8.5 years.
Right. So the question becomes then, the property downstream of town hall is a lot that is, well, I thought it was 100-foot total.
Yeah, 250-foot lots.
All right, my bad. 250-foot lots downstream that the town owns. And so as part of this idea, those lots are capable of supporting a system for the town hall. And you'd have to locate, if you did a well, it would have to go on the upstream side of town hall in order to get your separation distances. And as Ed was pointing out, finding out what this may or likely would cost is a first step. But I think if that were ever to happen, somehow, you know, septic's tradition, I mean, the conventional today OWTS system is quite expensive, but it is my opinion, just off the top of my head, that there is room for it. But we would find out with an engineer pretty quick.
Yeah. What I have done is I've talked with Sarah Bergstrom, who's done engineering for a number of systems in Pitkin, and explained to her what I want to her to deal with, because it's, you know, I am as far as from an expert in OWTS systems as you can find in Pitkin, but I do know some things that make this particular idea difficult. And I talked with her about that. And one of the things that I asked her is, you know, what's the engineering on this going to cost? And of course, she couldn't give me a figure, but I think she actually will give me a pretty close figure within about the next week or so. Because the difficulty is the town hall can support up to 150 people for an event. How many of those people might use the restrooms if we have put in new restrooms? I don't know how that's figured. In addition, just because of the location, which would be essentially at the bottom of the stairs next to the stairs and the alley. It's basically going to be, if we continue to continue with this, it's going to be a public restroom. How do you figure the use on a public restroom? And so, you know, those are the things that I've discussed with Sarah, and we have to see where it goes. That's why this is the first step. I mean, figuring out what we need for restrooms for the town hall and how big, what it's going to cost. I don't know where that's going to go, but you know, I think this engineering should get us to where we can do some real planning and try to deal with this as best we can. So, and so that's why, you know, what I'm asking for tonight is simply approval of the board to continue with having the engineering for the system as I've described it.
Any public discussion? Okay.
It's so common.
I can't hear.
That's not correct. These would become town funds and then the town would spend them. It's just, it's revenue, the federal government.
It's not tax money.
No, it's not tax. Well, I mean, in some way it's tax money, but not, it's not immediately tax money. It's not sales tax or no levy, nothing like that.
Didn't you say before, Sarah, I think the last meeting, this is funds from COVID?
Right, it's recovery funds that government was pumping into
It's not,
town,
yeah.
county.
It's not really from COVID. It's the federal government trying to deal with the
Yeah.
effects of COVID.
Out of COVID came the recovery funds.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess what I would like to see if we move forward on it is 12-6 says allocating 2025 town hall funds for WTS engineering. I'm not sure how to word it or say it, but those funds are coming from a normal budget to come from SRA funds.
If you're considering making a motion, my suggestion would be to just approve obtaining OWTS engineering. Because essentially what's happening is the town is claiming those funds as revenue. And then they will feed the town hall budget. This isn't a separate account. They're going to be absorbed into the general fund as revenue, and then they're going to be allocated to town hall to easements. Yeah.
And I wasn't saying that to make a motion. I was
Okay.
clarifying. Rather than taking it out of our regular budget, we earmark the SLRF funds to go towards that. So,
Right. That is one way of looking at it. It's not coming from our reserves, is another way of looking at it. This is just another source of revenue. The town has received it. The town is accepting it as revenue, and then it's going to spend it.
So should we, yeah, before after, should we have a motion on 12-7 first? And then go back to 12-6?
No, no. I would do 12-6 first, and then 12-7.
Okay,
The current budget that the board adopted last week would cover engineering already. We will in 2025 have to make a budget amendment for the rest of the projects.
okay. Would anybody like to make a motion?
I know I can.
You know, I can too. And I'm gonna make a motion that we, allocate 2025 town hall funds for OWTS engineering. Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Say aye.
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 All opposed?
Did you hear my I vote?
No, ma'am, I did not. Thank you, Sarah. Jerry. Okay, now we'll move on to 12-7, and I think we're going to want to claim the standard revenue replacement and the SLFRF funds. So I think it has been explained as well as Sarah has come to understand it, and I think I've pretty much got a handle on it. We say we want it, we say we need it, and then we tell them by April 25, we turn in a first initial report. And we have to have it used by December of 26.
I believe so. It's something in 20.
Something like that, yes. And we're just looking at a total of what, $16,000, $17,000?
Looking at $17,343.13.
I bet we can use it.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion? Any public comments?
Certainly receive those funds.
We have had the funds. Yeah,
You got 'em.
yeah, we've got them. We just don't want to give them back. That's what we're trying to avoid.
Okay, I didn't understand that. Good deal.
They've just been earning interest.
Yeah, so, I guess I'm a little behind on this subject. Is that the max we can claim as a town?
Yes, that's the max that we received. The standard revenue replacement is $10 million. So anything up to $10 million we can claim.
I'm just saying, is there not other projects that this can be claimed towards?
Sure, yeah. So once the town claims it as revenue replacement, the town can use it as it would use its normal revenue.
But you're saying the max is $10 million, so why can the town not claim other projects? I'm not, I guess, understanding the process here.
So like, it's like taxes, you get a standard deduction of $24,000, whether or not you actually, well, or more than, okay, that's a bad example. We can claim the total that we received because it's less than the standard deduction or the standard allowance for revenue replacement. We can't get more than that. That's our allowance. But because it's less than the 10 million, we can claim all of it for revenue replacement.
Okay, I guess I was just trying to.
No, I think I probably didn't explain that very well. Yeah, we couldn't get more than 17,000.
Okay, we can.
Nope, that's all we get.
Okay, that's what I was going to make sure.
Yes.
Could I'd like to make one comment. It's in many ways regards to Corey's questions and understanding of this. And you know, these funds, what are they called? The SF, whatever,
Yes.
SLFRF funds, I was not even aware of until after I submitted this town hall report and Sarah and I talked. But I think that, you know, everyone should be aware that Pitkin is not strapped for money. And the latest balance sheet as of November 30th that we had in our packet tonight, the total current assets, which is basically cash on hand. And yes, there are some commitment to part of that. For example, the Conservation Trust Fund is $20,000. And there's a certain amount that's yet to be determined on the 19 or 2024 expenditures. But those are relatively small compared to the total current assets, which is $635,972.77. So we have the budget to do, or not the budget, we have the capital to do what we feel we need to get done. And I think it's, you know, a lot of the discussion that we've been through in the past couple of months, both surrounding the budget and other things such as the commissioners and various aspects. You know, I feel that we are in a good place for looking at where we're going, what we need to do, what we can do. So I just wanted to make that clear, because not, you know, when you start reading the financial reports and stuff, it's real easy to get cross-eyed, I guess, and not really know what's going on. But, you know, basically, I think we're in a very good financial position. And I think that with some of the planning that's been proposed, that we're in a good place for moving the town forward.
Well, it's time for a decision, guys. There's money that we have, and as Sarah said, we don't want to give it back. That's my opinion as well.
So I have a motion prepared with the fund amounts. If anybody would like me to read it, if anybody is inclined to so move.
Please.
Motion to claim the standard revenue replacement in the amount of $17,343.13 and allocating the funds to cover public works expenses in the amount of $850 and town hall project expenses in the amount of $16,493.13.
Yeah, that's something.
This is Tom Gibb, and I will second that motion. All right, we've moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All right. Thank you, Jared. We are unanimous. Okay. Item 12-8, discuss with possible action appointing Jesse Garrettson as street commissioner and ditch commissioner through March of 2026. And I would like to table this till Jesse gets back.
I'd like to hear from Justin before we do.
I couldn't hear you.
I'd like to hear from Jesse before we decide to do it.
Me too.
All right. Jesse, you've heard. I would like to table this till you get back. Ed would like to hear from you. Ramon also maybe.
Well, thank you for the opportunity of speaking. There's just a number of things that we really need to clear the air on, but I believe they're all quite negotiable, quite able to resolve. And so when I hit there Christmas Eve, I would like to have my feet on the ground January 1st to get started on taking care of bids and trying to get ready for spring road work and ditch work and mag chloride and all the things that the town needs, let alone snow removal that's at hand today. I am so thankful that you have Phil Deutsch on the snow removal. That sure made things peaceful the last month here. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse.
So this is Ed. I'm going to say that last meeting when we tabled, actually 2 meetings ago, when it came up that Jesse wanted to be back on as the street commissioner, ditch commissioner, it was tabled then because we wanted job description for commissioners. We did job description for commissioners tonight. We approved that. So it's my recommendation that we continue with the appointing of Jesse Garrettson as street commissioner and ditch commissioner tonight, and we do not table it again. That was my agreement at the last time. We can table it. We get the job descriptions done. We did that, so we don't table it again.
Thank you, Ed.
I'm trying to find the papers that I just have and I can't. Just hold on for just a moment.
Okay, we can hold on just a moment.
Mix these up. Oh, that's it. Ed, you got my attention at the last meeting. Especially when you said that we need to follow our ordinances, which I agree with. And I'll be truthful about it. The ordinance, I knew it existed, but I hadn't read the ordinance on the commissioner, the jobs in a long, long time, many years, even after I was appointed town hall commissioner. So I did read it, and frankly, we should follow it, but there's a problem with doing what you want to do. Number 4 of what we just adopted and is the language in the existing ordinance says the commissioners shall be appointed in even years at the first regular meeting following a regular municipal election by majority vote of the Board of Trustees or seating of trustees if no election, semicolon, or upon any vacancy, which is what we have now, upon any vacancy of any commissioner position after public notice of at least 5 days prior to a regular or special meeting. I haven't seen any public notice of this appointment or availability, so if we follow this ordinance, we can't do it tonight. And we couldn't, according to this ordinance, we couldn't have at the last meeting. That's what it says.
I'll just say at that point, it's a failure of either our town clerk or mayor pro tem.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but that's what it is. If you want to stick and say we can't do it, that's absolutely what it boils down to.
Would you restate that first part again?
If we go by what Ramon is saying, that he wants to stick to that, then that is a failure of our town clerk or mayor pro tem on sticking to the ordinance and posting it. Well, we've known for 2 months now that Jesse wanted to be back on as a street and ditch commissioner. And it appears to me what's happening tonight is another kick the can down the road, Tom. It's absolutely all you're trying to do with it. You can say you want to table it and move it to the next meeting. And then Ramon has dug through the ordinance, which I commend him for reading the ordinance, and says, oh, it wasn't posted 5 days in advance.
So in our last town meeting, and I'm probably not going to find it, but you said you would like to have a work session. You would like Jesse to be part of that work session. You would like to have his input on multiple things, and I said that I would like also to see a work session and tighten up parameters and make expectations clear. And that's one of the reasons that I want Jesse here. I would like to involve several of us, including Jesse. And what are the parameters and expectations? Now, I like Jesse, and we all know Jesse, but sometimes in Jesse's exuberance, he does some things that are outside of what he has been designated to do. And that's, without going into any details, I think that's one of the things that we need to discuss and Jesse needs to discuss. And as he said, there's some differences that he thought could be cleared up. And look, I'm not dead set against Jesse being a tree commissioner. I am, what I am opposed to is seeking to pursue things outside of the realm of what you have been designated to do. And it's not cost us a ton of money, but it has cost us some. So I thought, well, okay. Now, Jesse talked about, jumping on things January 1st. Well, we'll have a meeting shortly after that. And hopefully by that time, we will have some things cleared up. I think our street commissioner and this board, both of us need to understand what all goes into this, because Jesse does a lot of work. And you've been out there with him on some of it. And I've seen him on some of it. And most of what he does falls completely within the realm of his job, but some of what he does not. And I think that some distinctions need to be made and some clarifications and expectations need to be discussed. And I want Jesse here to do that. So that's my position.
And my comments to that, Tom, is read off the minutes about having the work session. That's why we had the work session, to modify job.
Yeah.
And it appears like we're still not having.
No, it's not that I'm not happy with the job descriptions. What I want is more of a package here where we all get together and discuss what this means for job descriptions.
Open it up to the public.
All right, public comments.
Like Mo said, I don't have ordinance from me. It looks like we gotta vote to whatever, we gotta follow an ordinance. I would say do that as soon as possible. Get the show on the road. And my other question for the board, I'd like an answer on, you're gonna sit down and, what do you envision this, like a sit-down meeting with Jesse, with town board? What's this look like? And I have a follow-up question after I get an answer.
Okay. One more time. That last part, a little louder, a little slower.
So what do you envision this to be when Jesse gets here? Is this a sit-down meeting with Jesse and the town council?
Yes.
Okay. Are you gonna do that with every commissioner?
No, but Jesse has some unique qualities.
Okay.
And should any other commissioner come up with some unique qualities, then I suspect that the same should be done. You know,
I'm not trying to be argumentative, but if we're gonna submit that it's a budgetary issue, you have one town council member, which I agree. Town has plenty of money. I assume that's what some of this stems back to, is maybe going over budget. Any other commissioner could do the very same thing. When you express concerns about certain qualities, do you know our Parks and Rec commissioner that well? I don't. I've met him a couple of times. Seems like a great guy, but how do you know he doesn't have those same qualities? How do you know he, my point being is, how do you collectively take a look at a sitting with the town council and one commissioner, but not the other one in the town? And that's all I want you guys to think about. Thank you.
thank you.
I'd like to address, I think we should have a sit down or a talk with every applicant for a commissioner. It's something I think that hasn't been done primarily because we just had to scrape and scrape just to get anyone to volunteer. You know, as the town hall commissioner, I would feel better if I'd had that talk with the town board before I was appointed. And I might be further along with some of the things that I'm trying to plan to do at this point if we'd had that discussion, that type of discussion. So I agree. I think it should be done with all of us.
I'd like to remind the board that we currently have and have had for about 4 months an open on the zoning board. We have an EHA that is an environmental health agent that has submitted her resignation effective April 1st. And we still have the street and ditch commissioner position open. And I think we're being a little bit selective on volunteer positions.
Thank you, Ed. Mr. Nassau.
Yes, it's me. And put a lot of effort into developing job descriptions for volunteers. When can we expect job descriptions for paid employees?
For paying what?
When can we expect development of job descriptions for paid employees?
Can I answer that? Well, I submitted a job description and Trustee Garrettson found it through posts. And so that ended that conversation.
It was pretty long. Lots of stuff in that job description.
There's also a job description for the building inspector. We've not seen that.
The building inspector is a contractor, so. he should
Still,
get-
still would expect a description of what he's supposed to do, just like when we get a bid for a contract, contractor's supposed to do.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, well. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
I am 400 miles away and I can still smell a mouse. I don't know what's going on, but if I look at it objectively both ways, from the street commissioner's wife, which is not objective, and as a town trustee, which I always try to be objective, I can't figure out why in the world anybody'd want to volunteer in our town if they're going to get treated like this. I don't know how many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds or thousands of dollars Jesse Gerritsen, as street commissioner, saved this town through the years, as lots of other volunteers have too. But why would I can't figure out why he still wants to do this. I think it's demeaning to him to have to beg for a volunteer position. This is rotten. This is absolutely rotten. And I think I'd like to make a motion that we appoint him tonight, and then if you vote him down, I'll hope that he never applies again. This whole thing, this isn't New York City, and we have lots of people to choose from. It's not like I cannot for the life of me figure it out. And if we had sat down and perused the history of the town hall commissioner whom I voted for, knowing fully his rotten history part of it. He's done a lot for the town a lot of times, and we all know the bad part of it too, I'm sure. People. Anyway, I just find this very interesting as the former street commissioner's wife and as a sitting trustee. Very interesting.
Well, thank you, Jara. Well, I'm going to maintain my position. I really do want Jesse here, and I want to have a discussion. And that's where I am.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, ma'am.
I want Jesse to say what he just said to me.
I couldn't get that.
Be careful what you ask for. If I get the chance to have a sit down, heart to heart, honest, under oath comments, and I shared several of them in that cover letter to you, Tom, this week, you better be braced. But I'm willing to fight the good fight of faith and get things resolved. But there's going to have to be a communication line that we haven't had since Rachel and Eddie were mayors communicating to me. Thank you.
Communication line. Sounds good to me. All right. Here we go. We're either going to avoid, with possible action, appoint Jesse Gerritsen as street and ditch commissioner, or we're going to put it off. So I would entertain a motion.
Can I speak again?
This is Jera. May I speak?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's kick the can down the road, and I hope that building is full of people when we have this sit down, and it won't be about just one commissioner. Maybe we need to kind of clean house. We're being so nasty if we're going to be nasty to volunteers, we can dig up dirt and replace all of them. This is not right and has not been handled right from the get-go. So
Thank
kick the
you,
can
Jared.
down the road, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
All right. There's Jared's opinion.
You know my opinion.
We know Ed's opinion.
I stated mine.
You what?
I stated, I think we should follow the ordinance, just like another member recommended very strongly last month.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm confused on this posting thing. The vacancy for street and ditch commissioner has been posted for months. In the post office for sure.
No, it hasn't.
Well, it was for a long time. I don't know who took it down then.
Yes.
What?
Please confirm that Sarah posted.
It is not posted.
Okay. We're not going to get anywhere, and we're going to do as Jared said. We're going to kick this can down the road till Jesse gets back. And I look forward to that.
I'll set a date.
Hmm?
Can y'all set a date?
I don't know when he gets back. I think he told me the 31st.
I just didn't know if y'all had that discussion. Good.
Well, it'll be next year.
We arrived back the 23rd of December.
23rd. Thank you. Okay. Going to move on.
Can we move on without a motion to take?
We do need a motion to table, don't we? Okay.
Nothing requires that motion. Nothing requires that motion to table.
Well, we're going to have a motion to table. Just
If you want, fine, but it's not
I'll check it over
required.
and say.
You do have to make, if it's on the agenda, you have to make a decision. So you can either motion to accept or deny the agenda item, or you have to table it if you're not going to make a motion in the positive or the negative.
you say table for lack of a motion? What did he say?
Can you repeat that last?
You'd have to make a motion. If you're not going to make a motion to accept or deny the item, you would have to make a motion to table the item to another meeting.
To table.
So we need a motion to table?
I'll move to table.
All right, I'll second it. Okay, we have a motion and a second to table the appointment of Jesse Garrettson. Those in favor say aye.
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 Nay.
Okay. Thank you, Jared. Motion is tabled.
Can we set a work session at this time? For discussion with Justin?
I don't have a calendar. I do look forward to a discussion with Jesse though. And in fact, I don't know how appropriate it would be for me just one-on-one with Jesse.
No, it needs to be with the board of trustees and the audience.
Okay. What do you think?
And it will be opened up to commissioners in general, not just one.
Opened up to commissioners what?
We can have a discussion with the commissioners, not just one. We're not going to be discriminating against.
Well, no, but you know, we are in a season that maybe not all commissioners are able to get together. We could strengthen them one at a time as they're available though.
I think we can have the work session and the commissioners that are here, we can have a formal discussion with them. And if there's some that are not here and Zoom in, I think we can have that discussion with all of them in that work session.
Well, we can try for that.
I don't want to discriminate and have a work session to have a discussion for one commission. That's called discrimination, Tom. We're not going to do that.
Well, with our street commissioner and ditch commissioners being vacant, and then having someone apply, say, I want it. It is a volunteer position. I understand that. And Jared's correct. Why would anybody do that? But then he is applying and and so to interview for that job, I don't know if I see that as discrimination or not. I think I see that more of a heart to heart, as Jesse said. Line of communication.
You show me in any past meetings where we've had to have a heart to heart with a person that's volunteering for a position. If you can't.
No, I can't tell you that, Ed. I've only sat here in this chair for a little while. So anyway, we have a motion and it passed, and this can's kicked down the road till Jesse gets back, and then we will see availabilities. Now I'm pretty sure our town clerk's out of here like what? Wednesday? Thursday?
Thursday.
Okay. And we'll be gone till the first of the year. So a work session involving those commissioners that are available would have to be after the first of the year. And I will be available. I'm not going anywhere.
One other comment,
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
we make sure they're posted, so you're not having a work session for a commissioner position. It's not posted.
Make sure the what?
This posted that they're open, so you're not having a work session for a commissioner position. It's not posted. All I'm saying.
I can hear him.
Okay. Sure, got it. It works better if you do the microphone, but yeah, sure, got it. Okay. Ramon, you around after the first of the year?
Yep.
Ed, you around after the first of the year? So we can pull that together at any time. So we have seen this happen before. Sarah has sent out an inquiry of what works best for you, and responses come back in, and we come up with a meeting or work session. So I expect that's how we'll do this. Would that be okay?
No problem. Send out an email. There's a couple of date options.
Okay. We need to wrap up here. So, schedule upcoming work sessions. There we go. Then we have also, things that continue to come up. You will have noticed in the, meetings of the last month's minutes that, the transfer of title thing got tabled, and that's, it didn't get on this one again, and, but it will get on again. Transfer of title on, soil treatment areas, or septic systems, and, be some discussion on that. And, what is the question on the OWTS ordinance? Going to that? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Every couple of years.
All right.
Which ordinance?
The OWTS ordinance that we currently have, we're at 7 years, and Gayla was promoting, following the county's lead and going with transfer of title.
Okay, yeah.
And so that's what that is. And then, is there anything other thing I need to, bring up at this time?
I have a quick question for the board.
Yes, ma'am.
We heard from Lumen Century, the guys that are trying to rebury their cable up here at State and well, and they wanted to know if the town requires a survey, because they're having some trouble getting a surveyor who is willing to come and work in that area
Who's willing to come and what?
and do a survey at that particular location. I suggested a few, and they've already contacted those people, and they are not willing to come and do a survey there. So they want to know if they have to get a survey. Because I mean, the town has already granted them the easement. And I don't think the easement paperwork dictated a survey was required, they just wanted to make sure. So if you want me to recheck the paperwork and bring that back, because I don't know, it might have been a special meeting a few months ago that the board voted to go ahead and grant them the easement, even if they didn't necessarily need it, they might need it now.
I have a question that may answer this to the building inspector. You know, the property where the problem became, you have issued a building permit not that long ago for that property. So to your knowledge, are there visible, not regarding the snow, but are there visible corner pins?
Up there at your old house, pins are there. You just got to find them. Thank you.
So it doesn't seem to me that a survey is necessary if the property boundaries, you know, where they want to bury the cable is in the street outside that property.
Well, if they stay in the street, they shouldn't have any problems.
Yeah.
If they stay right beside the street, they shouldn't have any problems.
Is that fence right on the property line? Is that property?
He got the permit from the fence, since, I don't think, I think some of that fence is new, so I would imagine if he got the permit that the zoning board verified.
Leave Chris put the fence
You
in
put the fence in? Okay.
Yeah, and that's been some time now.
right on the property line, so if they stay outside of the fence.
Is it on the property
Yeah.
line? I didn't remember. Thank you.
And then be,
Doesn't seem to me that a survey is necessary. The boundary markers should be visible enough to keep the work in the street.
Okay,
All right, I'll let them know. Thank you.
I've got one more question that kind of goes back to our variance discussion earlier. And I don't know whether we do it in this meeting, but I think we need the town attorney's opinion on when variances must go to the board of trustees and when they don't. And since I brought it up, I'll go ahead and bring it out. So tonight we had the variance for Corey and Stephanie's place where the variance came up to the property line, but not on street property. And he indicated that it needed to be heard by the board of trustees because the town has
adjoining property.
adjoining property to it.
That was it.
So my confusion now, and as the chairman of the zoning board, is tomorrow night, we've got a variance for the hotel. The town was sent a letter as a property owner next to the property.
Yes.
So does the board of trustees need to hear that variance as well? My further question was, if every variance at some point touches a street or an alley, then the board of trustee would need to hear every variance. And then why do we have a zoning board that even hears a variance? If that's the case.
Right.
There's a lot of confusion.
Well, no, I don't. So in my mind, so your Main Street out here, where Mr. Taylor has his business, is it 0 setback?
Right.
Okay, so if he does not encroach on town property and stays at 0 setback,
Right.
then he's legit. His issue will be with his adjoining neighbor and perhaps the one across the street behind, because it says, you know, they don't count streets. So, if Mr. Waugh, I do believe has already sent a letter, yes or no?
Yeah.
And so, I know,
That's, all I'm asking is clarification from the attorney. Because it seems like a lot of times we turn around and it's a variance, looks like the board, zoning board can hear it, and then we find out on the board of trustees needs to hear it too.
Yeah.
So
well, that's a
I'd like
good
some
question.
clarification on it for future reference.
Clay, can you look into that? Or do you know off the top of your head?
I can look into it. I think I have an answer, but I'll get you an answer with a statutory reference.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So it has always been my opinion, for whatever this is worth, the zoning board was in business within the property lines. Once you encroach outside the property lines, then you step into variance world. That's always what I imagined.
Okay. So I'll go back to NASA's variance tonight. It didn't encroach on town property. It didn't cross over. So why did the board of trustees need to hear it?
Well, that was on the advice of Mr. Brookner because we were one of those interested parties. So that's why I say he said he looked into it. Okay. Any other business? All right, then. It is, thank you all for your patience and endurance. It is roughly 9:44, more or less. And tonight's meeting is adjourned.
Okay.